Hey everyone, welcome to robnoerr without his hat again, with his bald head. I left my hat at work and I know I have other ones, but I'm too lazy to check for them. Actually, wasn't planning on streaming the rest of the week, but here I am. I'm streaming. What's up, Go Rams? Nice to hear from you. Drew, Sweet Tat, Webmaster, Robert, Jordan, great to see you all. Should be a good show tonight. So this is only going to be a small stream because actually I'm going to be streaming on the Crucible. I am moderating tonight. It's going to be Andrew Wilson versus Dave Smith, basically discussing Christian populism or nationalism versus libertarianism. And I'm going to be the moderator for that. So I, as usual, don't want to step on another channel's toes while I'm working with them. So I will not be streaming to my platforms. But I think it'll be a big show. I wouldn't be surprised if we have 4,000 or 5,000 people watching tonight. So, big show. A lot of pressure on me not to screw it up. I'll be fine. I think I'm a fine moderator. I think it'll be a pretty simple job moderating, to be honest. I think both of these guys are confident debaters that have debated many times. And so I don't look for me to have to jump in much. I like the topic, libertarianism versus Christian populism. I'm definitely closer to libertarianism, but I do fall in between these two. So my guess is ideologically, I'm probably closer to Dave Smith, but Andrew is a friend of mine. So it'll be interesting with those two competing thoughts in my head to see how it goes tonight. But I'm very interested. My moderating strategy, as always, is my job's just to keep things on track. So hopefully you won't hear much from me. That would be ideal. And leave these two take it in a direction they want. Obviously, if there's a lot of talking over, I'll interject because talking over is something that doesn't help anyone, including the audience. So other than that, that's about it. I do believe there'll be a place for questions from the chat. That'll probably be limited to people that put super chats in, just because with that many people, it'll be hard for me to keep up with the questions, obviously, because, if there's over 1,000 people, I'm not that fast at reading. So, thanks, me neighbor. I appreciate it. Yeah. But I do have to give a shout out to Andrew for suggesting me as the moderator. I'm flattered. I think it shows his confidence in me to be a moderator. I think it's very important. Andrew does this very well. It's very important when moderating to not leave your personal opinions of the argument or your personal opinions of the people involved in the debate affect you. I've tried to conduct myself as a moderator like that in the past, and I think that Andrew recognizes that, so he understands that he could ask me, and I'm not going to favor him just because I've been on the Crucible and a friend of the Crucible for many moons now, so I don't think that'll be a problem. And I think Andrew wanted to make sure there would be someone who understands the debate and will be fair in moderation, because I think it's a big opportunity for Andrew. Dave Smith definitely has a big following of people that maybe haven't seen what the Crucible has to offer. Dave Smith's made his way onto a lot of mainstream platforms, and I think that there is a significant chance that Andrew will be seen by people that he hasn't seen before. And so I think it's a unique opportunity for both Andrew and Dave. For Dave, I think that he has an opportunity to go to people, because one of the things that's interesting is, my guess is that a lot of cultural beliefs Andrew and Dave are going to agree with. I think that they both will despise the excesses of the left and sort of the establishment as we see it now. The question is, what is the role for our government? And I think that's where most of the debate will focus. So it's interesting to see people that both probably are viewing many of the same problems and want a society that looks very similar. It's just, how do we get there will sort of be the question to be asked tonight. And so I think anytime you're having those sorts of debates, it's interesting because you're really trying to talk not just to the person you're debating, but to their audience. If I debate, pondering politics on, a trial that Trump's in, his audience, 95% of them are going to be like, we hate Trump, we don't care. Throw him in jail forever, we don't care. But when you're debating someone whose audience probably elsewise would like you, I really think that gives you a unique opportunity to try to make inroads. So for Dave, I think a chance to talk to sort of Christian populists that's going to agree with him a lot, and sort of sell the advantages of sort of a libertarian mindset, I think is going to be a unique opportunity for him. And I'm hoping that it's something that he's kind of looking forward to, that he'll have an audience that's willing to hear him out, that might walk into the debate not necessarily agreeing with his position, maybe more agreeing. Thank you, Randy, for the super chat. I appreciate it. So I think that's interesting for Dave. And for Andrew, it's a unique opportunity. One, because he has the same opportunity to talk to a more libertarian-leaning audience as to why Christian populism is the way to go. I also think it's an opportunity to mainstream Andrew more and to mainstream the ideas of Christian populism, because I feel that there's a lot of gaslighting about what Christian nationalism or Christian populism is, and they're always demonized as sort of the most evil, terrible, worst people in the world. And I think because there are likely to be clips from this show that end up making it to a larger audience, maybe it's a good opportunity for Christian nationalists or Christian populists to debate someone that's more mainstreamed and get their ideas out there. And maybe that leads to more opportunities for Andrew. So I hope both are prepared. I hope both have taken it seriously. And I'm utterly confident that they have. And so my job's just not to step on anyone's toes and let them go at it. And that's what I fully intend to do. So I think it'll be fun. I appreciate the opportunity. It's, straight up, it's two guys that I really enjoy listening to. And again, I'll be completely honest with my bias going in, so you can judge me and say I'm a piece of garbage if you think my moderation was terrible. My bias is I'm probably going to lean towards the arguments of Dave Smith in the sense that ideologically I'm entering the debate closer probably to a libertarian than I am a Christian populist. However, I have a personal relationship with Andrew Wilson in that we're friends, and so I will try not to leave either of those two things influence me to the best of my ability. Thanks so much, Zen's Forehead. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. So I'll stick with y'all for another 10 minutes or so, and then the Crucible uses sort of their own sort of streaming service. They go through StreamYard, so I'm going to refamiliarize myself with just some of the intros and outros because I'll be doing that stuff too. How about that? Not just the moderator, but also sort of running the technical show behind the scenes too, huh? How about that? Wow, great. So, I'm looking forward to it. It's a debate I would have watched, probably not live, I'll be honest with you. Had I not been moderating, I think we were going to go out on the boat tonight with my in-laws, but we're going to do that tomorrow instead. So I would have probably inversed this. I'd have probably watched this debate tomorrow, not live. But it's nice to be here and be doing it live. So, and then, who knows, maybe later in the week I'll review the debate and give my honest opinions on it. You think Andrew's going to take it? All right, we'll see. Both good debaters. You never know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to getting more debates on the Crucible. What's up, Punished? Nice to hear from you, man. One of the things is Crucible runs on StreamYards. It is. I think it's two of the better debaters. Now, Dave's obviously doing different. I don't know that you would consider him to be in the same debate sphere as Andrew. They're both good debaters, but Dave's more doing debates that were like in-person stuff. Andrew's done some of that as well, to be fair. But I don't really consider myself in the same debate circle as Dave Smith because I haven't had the opportunity, other than being like on Tim Pool's show, to really do a lot of those real-life events. So hopefully it's something I could get to eventually if I get time off work. But no, I think it's an interesting opportunity. I'm glad they thought of me. And like a referee, the better I do, the less you'll hear from me. So hopefully I just get to sit here and enjoy the debate. Then you'll get to hear me be like, okay, closing statements. Now let's get to audience questions. And I'll bring up audience questions and good stuff. So that's the ultimate goal. Yeah, Zen, that's sort of my impression as well. I have suggestions on how to argue against both of their philosophies, but it would be unethical for me to have contacted either and have said anything, seeing as I'm moderator. So, mum's the word. I think that the reason I'm in between these two is I think that a complete libertarian system is unworkable in today's society. It is, even if hypothetically it was possible, it would take so many generations to get there that it's just not feasible. So then the question becomes, given that, in the interim, do we have policies that would be, quote, closer to libertarianism and end up like, what's the guy's name? Chase Oliver? That's the, yeah. So we end up with training the kids in school or what? Or do we say, because that's not a possibility in our lifetime, perhaps we go in a direction where, okay, if the state has to exist and it is inevitably going to exist, at least have people that are culturally closer to me making decisions. I don't know if there'll be time for me to ask questions if there's this many people watching. Yeah, I think I'll do as fine as well. So, but that's the way I would approach it from Andrew's perspective. From Dave's perspective, I think that there are some things that a lot of the Christian populace say that I think makes them getting access to political power less likely. For example, I'm convinced that running on a position of women shouldn't vote when half the voters are women probably ensures that the majority of women aren't going to vote for you. I think we are far away culturally from convincing women not to vote. Now, the debate's in 45 minutes, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, let me check unless I screwed something up. Now you got me nervous. I don't think so. I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure I didn't miss any messages. Yeah, I'm good. Don't do that to me. That'd be my life. I'm just waiting. For me, it's always, like, when it comes to debates or moderating and stuff, I'm never that worried. For me, it's always, like, random stuff. Like, I'm worried that, like, it looked like it was going to rain, so I'm worried that, like, there'll be a thunderstorm and my power will go out. That's the stupid stuff I worry about. So, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But I'm going to destroy everyone as a moderator here. You never know. Never know. But... no, I think it'll be interesting. We'll see where they take it. Again, Andrew, one of the things I like about the Crucible when I was moderating for the arena, simple topic. Pondering politics, thanks so much. How'd I get connected with Dave Smith? Thanks, Pondering. I was just talking trash on you, and here you are. Now, Pondering, you'll agree with this. I said, I think Dave and Andrew are closely aligned in a lot of cultural issues, so you change your debate strategy. Like, if I'm debating you, Pondering, I'm right-wing, you're left-wing, whatever. I'm anti-establishment, you're pro-establishment. Your strategy is different than if you're debating someone who's on basically similar ideological side as you. And so I always find it interesting when you see these sort of discussions, where it's two people that maybe culturally have a lot of similarities, but they massively disagree governmentally what should happen. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. But what was I going to say? Just to talk about some other stuff, I think something that's worth saying here is regarding the second debate I did Wednesday with Gibbs and Jeb Tan and Tiberius D and Lactoid and who am I messaging? Conor. Yeah, I'm moderating. There's a lot of clips out there that people that support me that were putting out, with me dropping the F-bomb a lot. So here's the deal. I'm trying to be more level-headed when it comes to stuff like that. You have to understand, I do this for my personal enjoyment and entertainment, but I am cognizant that, like, someday my son might see some of this, so I don't want to be an insane maniac all the time. However, I hope that you take in context with those clips that the beginning of that debate, I thought that I was quite, public with the fact that I was like, we're all men here, right? We take the gloves off, we could yell at each other. Everyone agreed? Despite the disagreements I have with people, I wish none of those people ill. I like most of those people, even if I massively disagree with them. And I'm not making fun of their lives. I'm not, like, picking on their family situation. I'm saying your opinions are dog shit. You claim to be a principled person. I don't think it's principled to fucking take money from the side that's shit and work for them and then claim it. That's it. No hard feelings. So I hope that people take that with a grain of salt. Don't think that because the end of that debate resulted in me effing, mother effing a bunch of people that it's like, I walked away from there like, I hate those people. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I like Jeb Tan and Conor. I do. It's truth. So next time, I'm not going to pull punches. And to me, that's a sign of respect. I don't have to worry about what I'm saying because I think they can handle it. And so I don't want anyone, thinking that there's like, you know, an insane amount of animosity. I think their positions suck. Conor's more than Jeb's. But, you know, as far as like the first debate, I don't have a problem with pondering politics at all. Who else was in that? Rashad, I don't know much, and he was a little quiet in that debate. I like Lactoid a lot. I thought it was fun being on 2 debates with him. And, you know, as far as Pisco, I've made my feelings clear on him. I think he's bad faith for obvious reasons. But I still don't dislike Pisco. I don't wish any ill to him. And I hope his career takes off. Good for him. Whether it be streaming career or legal career. I don't wish any ill on any of these people. There are only a handful of people that I legitimately really dislike that I've interacted with. And even them, I'm not wishing ill in their personal life. So that's it. You know, even Wick, I told Wick at one point that I thought Pisco was interrupting me a little too much. And Wick told me not to criticize his moderation. And I sort of chuckled. I thought it was funny. That's funny. That's the most animated I've ever seen Wick. I thought it was funny. But afterwards, you know, he was like, sorry if it got a little chirpy. I was like, come on, dude. Who gives you apologize? You fucking kidding me? It's fine. That doesn't bother me. That's just how I am and how I debate. So, you know, what it is. Yeah. Pisco and me then went at it on X over some issues. He didn't respond to what I said. I think my reading of the FEC rules strongly suggests that an NDA would be considered personal use. Because if you go to the FEC rules and you look at the legal section of it, legal expenses, basically what it's doing, don't think of the FEC's rules like this. It's not just saying what you can spend or what you must report. It's like a guide on what you're allowed to spend campaign monies on. So if it's personal, you can't spend campaign money because most of the time that's going to be how people are going to be approached this. Like, ooh, how can I drove to a campaign event. Can I use campaign money or do I have to use my own personal money? Right? And so there's rules for that. It's like, well, certain things are personal. Like you can't pay your rent. You can't say, oh, I'm paying my rent for the campaign. You can't do that. That has to be personal funds. But that means someone could loan you money to pay your rent. They could do that while you're running for office. And it's not a campaign expenditure. So they're not limited to the amount of a campaign contribution because it's considered personal. So if it's personal, then it doesn't matter if someone loaned money to Trump or gave money to Trump, etc. If it's a campaign expenditure, then it does. Then you have to report it. So it lists a bunch of things that you can use campaign money for legally, and conspicuously absent is an NDA. And then it even goes further to specifically outline under other situations. So it lists a bunch of situations, and then it's like, here's other situations. And it says, basically, situations that arise from actions that you took before you were running as a candidate. That would be Trump's situation, because these actions were what, like mid-2000s when allegedly he slept with Stormy Daniels? So that's years and years and years ago before he was ever running for office. And so it says in those situations, you could spend 50% of your campaign expenditure. So 50% of the costs associated with that could be spent by the campaign. Then it becomes incredibly difficult because it's like, well, what's that mean? If I may use 50% campaign money, does that mean I have to report as an expenditure if I didn't? If it's only 50%? That becomes murky. But it's a moot point anyways, because if you go after that, it says 50%, it's in parentheses, and then it says situations that arise outside of running in a campaign that occurred before you were running for a campaign, and then comma, and then here's the following part, for expenses that must be paid in dealing with the press about the situation. In other words, you have to hire a press coordinator to deal with some scandal you had 20 years ago. But that's not what happened with Trump. This was before he became a candidate. So the question then becomes, why don't they specifically say an NDA? I would argue the closest thing that comes to it is an advisory opinion on this that I read that specifically says certain things are considered on a case-by-case basis to be personal, such as divorce proceedings and business disputes. Now, to me, it's probably quite common in a business dispute to have a non-disclosure agreement. And that's considered personal. So I don't know if you could get an NDA or record seal in a divorce and that's considered personal, or an NDA in a business dispute and that's considered personal. Why would an NDA with an affair not be considered personal? Anyways, I put all of this up and asked for opinions, and Pisco nor anyone else has responded. So now that doesn't mean, he's conceded defeat. He's quite possibly busy. He probably has a life to some extent. So, though I'm not sure how much of a life Pisco has, but you see what I mean. So, but it's an interesting thought. And one of the reasons I do like arguing with Pisco is because it forces me to research more as well. Now, of course, he had to make it shitty because he's like, because he'll put something, I'll be like, yeah, all right, you had a point there. I do that. He doesn't. And so he's like, this is why you shouldn't, mock me and say things are ridiculous. And it's like, right, same with you, Pisco. But he can't. He was quite convinced that the reason that Ellie Honing didn't think that enough notice was given was because he just mistakenly hadn't read the pretrial motions. When Ellie Honing, senior correspondent at CNN, comes out and says, no, I'm aware of those, and I still think it's a not sufficient notice. Now Pisco's, instead of saying, yeah, okay, you were right, Rob, he's like, no, it proves I'm right, and Ellie Honing's just lying now. Now he's just lying. And you see, you can't just admit, like, yeah, I'm wrong, which is the difference between me and him. I'll admit, like, I had said for months and months and months and months that the problem with one of the reasons that they were going after Trump this way is if you say anything that can be used to benefit you in a campaign as a campaign expenditure, that would mean when I ran for office, I could use campaign donations to buy new suits, to get a haircut. But it specifically says no. Those sorts of things like clothing, personal upkeep, rent, that doesn't count. And so that answers my point in that. It does. There's a carve out for that. Veda, thanks so much for the super chat. She says, this is how you know I'm a grown-ass man. More excited for BPF versus Dave Smith than E3 that's happening right now. And now that Rob's a mod, it's level awesome. How'd you get this gig? I guess just knowing Andrew. I think they had another mod lined up that dropped out, so I'm a good last-minute replacement, I guess. But yeah, so anyways, that was sort of discussed. The other argument I was having on X this week is with Conor, which he just self-owns. Now, I will admit, I could argue Conor's side better than Conor would, but he got real pissed off when I made fun of Mattis, the warrior poet, as Conor calls him, who was really upset with Trump's comments during the Floyd riots. They were divisive. They were heavily divisive. And Trump's trying to militarize the response. Right. Trump was trying to send the National Guard. I remember that. That's the military. That's what he's trying to do. And in my closing statement, me and Conor went back and forth a little about it, and then he mentioned on X how screwed up it was that I wanted to send in the military. Now, I have nuanced opinion on this. I didn't want to. I wanted the mobs to not be rioting, and then if that wasn't going to happen, then I wanted the local police, the governors and mayors to deal with it. And then if that wasn't going to happen, what I didn't want was a situation like the Rodney King riots where people were arming themselves to protect their property and killing fellow Americans. That's what I didn't want, which ends up happening with Rittenhouse. So I said at the time before Rittenhouse, much to my chagrin, probably the National Guard should be deployed until these riots stop. However, I knew that that's what the Democrats wanted. They wanted to encourage the riots or allow the riots to force Trump's hand so they could say, see, he's an authoritarian. Nonetheless, that's what I thought, that he should send in the National Guard. To Conor's credit, there was an allegation at one point he inquired about mobilizing the 82nd Airborne that was stationed somewhere in the United States, temporarily, I think, around D.C. Yeah, that's not good. They should use the National Guard, not that. Nonetheless, Mattis is specifically talking about Trump's response immediately after the May 31st left-wing insurrection, where a bunch of violent lefties that were armed with Molotov cocktails injured dozens of Secret Service officers, burnt down a guard station in an attempt to get into the White House and physically remove Donald Trump. Mattis's comments were, the next day Trump gave a photo op in front of a church, and that's divisive, and he used the military to beat down people. He didn't. It turned out that was a hoax. Although there was an harsh response, the truth is, it later came out Trump never ordered it. He had nothing to do with the response whatsoever. He just said he wanted to go over there and take a photo up. But it's telling that Mattis would talk about the divisiveness and not the attack on the White House. And so anyways, the thing that was funny on X is someone commented basically that to Conor, and Conor said, but that's not why we need, that's the job of keeping us safe would be the governors, the mayors, the police, and the National Guard. Yes, Conor, the National Guard is the military. Good job, dude. So Conor's furious that as a conservative, I would suggest using the National Guard, and then admits, yes, we should use the National Guard. Also, Conor didn't have a problem with the deployment of the National Guard post-January 6th. I'd love to have this debate with Conor. What exactly was the time that Conor thinks that Trump should have mobilized the National Guard? Because I'll bet Conor's very upset that Trump didn't order them to be deployed January 6th. So he was okay with that militarization against Americans. He'd say, no, they were rioting. They were dangerous. Right, but May 31st, when they were rioting, trying to break into the White House, and General Mattis said, this is terrible, we couldn't use the National Guard then, right? Good job. So, yeah, maybe we'll get to talk about it. But anyways, that's what my week's been. I do plan on taking off till probably Wednesday here when I get back again. There's a guy, Alex Kirsch, wants to debate me on Trump versus Biden. I said, okay. Someone suggested that the Crucible moderate. He does not want that. He said he would like someone to moderate that is neither voting for Trump or Biden. Okay, good luck. I was like, why don't you just ask Wick or Pondering? I don't give a shit. I trust any of those people will be somewhat even-handed, but I don't know nothing about the guy, but whatever. Sure, if you want to debate Trump versus Biden, yeah. It's not something I feel that I'll need to prepare for. Yeah, that's what I figured. So I'm not too worried about it. It helps that I'm on the right side of the issue. So, all right. So I'm going to head over to the Crucible. Let me put that link. So where you could go is to the Crucible's YouTube channel. Now, fortunately, because they're better than me at preparing stuff, they actually have a link to the debate already up. So there it is. On any platform that you're watching me right now, you can click that link, and that'll take you right to the waiting room of the Dave Smith, Andrew Wilson debate. So if you're just tuning in, I will be moderating the Crucible's Andrew Wilson against libertarian Dave Smith on Christian populism versus libertarianism. I think it's going to be a 2 or 3 hour affair. If you get your super chat in with question, we're going to try our best to get all the super chats read, as long as they're term of service. I think it's going to be a great one. I think it's two really good debaters, that are on many ways similar as far as cultural ideology, but very different when it comes to proposed governmental solutions. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a big opportunity for both of them. It's a decent opportunity for me. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to talk to both Dave and Andrew at some point in the near future afterwards. So it should be a lot of fun. So don't tune in for me. Tune in for those guys. Hopefully you don't hear much from me. But remember, as you watch the super chats pop up on screen and stuff, that's all me, baby. I'm running the tech behind the scene too. So yeah, that Dave Smith Cuomo clips, that's an all-timer, man. I don't care if you agree with them on anything else. That clip was banging. Yeah. Thank you, Melina Ultra. I guess I can't force anything. See? Dave's winning already. That's the libertarian in me. I'm not going to have the government force you to tune in for me. But if you choose to, So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you over there at the Crucible in half an hour. As always, have a good one.